Hey, hey, you know what time it is? Woo! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! Hey, it's story time with Chris, and we are back. I feel like I'm a little far away. Yes, please, please come closer. Too close, a little too close. There. How's everybody? I hope everybody's having a good Saturday night. Um, it's been an easy day for me. I got to journal and catch up, and I try my best to be grateful for every day that I'm still able to be here with you all. And we are back with My Neighbor Totoro, which I do not own the music that is playing in the background. It is ethereal sounding. It's very pretty. In my spare time, y'all, I always go and look through music of different genres, subgenres. Anybody that knows me well knows I love jazz. Jazz is like top tier. And then there's city pop, and then there's like R&B, classical music, neo soul, so on and so on. Hi, Phil. Hi. Thank you for watching. And even though your birthday was not that long ago, happy birthday! Yes. Love my best friend Phil and his amazing wife Liziah. They are amazing people. They're the reason why I have amazing lighting right now. So, shout out to Phil. Oh, see, I think this is like gonna be a trend because every time I put on my glasses, they're filthy because I don't know, when I write, I tend not to focus on those things. I'm just taking pen to paper, so I tend to forget to do some domestics when it comes to keeping my glasses cleaned. There we go. So without further ado, we will begin. Chapter 6. The Bus Stop at Inari Shrine. Once the girls had gotten home, dried themselves off, combed their hair, and changed into clean clothes, they felt fresh and energetic. Now they could spend the rest of the day looking forward to Tatsuo's return. Today was a special day. They felt like laughing and running around. How should they spend the rest of the afternoon? Satsuki looked at the clock. It was a little past 2:30. It would be long until Tetsuo was home. She wanted to get everything ready before he arrived. This is great, thanks you two. Satsuki giggled happily, picturing how her father would smile when he saw how busy they'd been. She felt like she'd already done something good. May! May! Come in the living room! May came running in, clutching her tote bag.
It's all dirty.
It got mud on it when you fell down. One of my favorite illustrations is in this chapter. Give it to me. I'll wash it for you, Satsuki said. Good idea. They could wash their muddy clothes and do the rest of the laundry at the same time. May, get all the wet clothes. We'll wash them right now.
Next to the tub?
That's right. Satsuki went into the kitchen and attached the long tin pipe that led from the pump to the bathtub. She went into the tub, took the cover off the bathtub, went back into the kitchen, and worked the squeaky pump handle up and down. She heard water gurgling down the pipe into the tub. May came down the hall with a bundle of dripping clothes, leaving a trail of water on the wooden floor. She held them out to Satsuki.
Here.
Put everything in the wash basin.
What do I do?
May said. Well, let's see. You can put water from the tub in the wash basin.
Okay, I like that.
While they did the laundry, they got wet all over again, so they took their clothes off and washed them along with everything else. Then they ran to Mommy's room and changed into dry clothes. They combed their hair again and felt brand new. That takes care of the laundry. Let's have a snack, Satsuki said. As they ate their snack, Satsuki looked at the to-do list. She took a pencil and drew a line through the things they had already finished. There's 4 more left, she said. Satsuki looked out at the garden. Sure is raining hard.
I know,
May said. The pond was filling with water. Sukomori Woods looked blurry in the rain. The woodpile was soaked. The only sound they could hear was the rain on the roof. Satsuki took the plates and cups into the kitchen and washed them in the sink. What next? She decided to get a head start on dinner. She opened the cupboard looking for the tea tin that held the dried shrimp. Come out, wherever you are. Satsuki found the tin. Fill the pot with water from the pump, put it on the stove, and added shrimp to the water. 5 big ones, minus the heads. Tetsuo had told her not to start the fire, but by soaking the shrimp, now she could make miso in no time. May, put the chopsticks out. Teacups, too. They wiped the dining table and set out the plates, bowls, chopsticks, and teacups. Shall we lay out the futons? Satsuki said. Then when Daddy gets back, we won't have to do it. Mm-hmm. May nodded. They ran into Mommy's room and laid out the futons. May ran around on the soft futons, laughing and doing somersaults. She dived into her futon.
Let's take a nap.
The clock in the living room chimed once. It was 4:30. Satsuki was beginning to worry about Tetsuo's umbrella. If she didn't take it to him at the bus stop, he'd be very wet by the time he got home. Then there was Kanta's umbrella. She'd better drop that off at the Hogaki's on the way to the bus stop. Listen, May. I want to take Daddy's umbrella. Would you like to take a nap while I'm gone? That way, Satsuki could run to the bus stop just before the bus came, but May jumped up from her futon.
I'm going too.
It's still raining and the bus stop is pretty far.
I'm going.
But you haven't had a nap today, Satsuki said. Why don't you wait here in your futon?
Don't want to.
You can play with Anne.
Really?
I'll even let you change your clothes.
Okay.
So you'll wait here?
No.
Satsuki gave up. Then we better get you ready. In her galoshes and hooded raincoat, May didn't need an umbrella. Satsuki put her on long rubber boots and took 3 umbrellas. Her pink one, Tatsuo's big black one, and the one she borrowed from Kanta. Together they left the house again. The path to the footbridge was slippery and wet. The stream was so swollen with muddy water that it could barely pass beneath the bridge. The wildflowers along its banks were half submerged. The paddies on the other side of the road were brimming. The footpaths between the fields glistened in the dim light of late afternoon. The road was deserted. Satsuki and May set off toward the village. Kanta's house was almost exactly halfway to the bus stop. Satsuki walked slowly so May didn't have to run. We're gonna go by Kanta's house, Satsuki told her. If you see Granny, you better apologize for today. May didn't answer. You don't want her to think you don't like her, Satsuki added. No answer. Tell her you're sorry.
No.
May shook her head and looked down at the road.
I don't want to.
If you're gonna be so stubborn, Miss Moriyama won't let you come to school ever again, Satsuki almost said. But she let it go. This wasn't the time or the place to upset May. Satsuki opened the sliding door that opened onto the hard-packed floor of the Ogaki's big entryway. Luckily, it was Kanta's mother who came out to greet them. What are you doing out in this rain? She was surprised to see them. It was dinner time. Satsuki could smell dried sardines, grilling. Is something the matter? Kanta's mother asked. You better come in and join us for dinner. The paper-covered lattice door to the living room rattled open. Kanta's little brother, Shota, poked out. When he saw the 2 girls, he slammed the door shut. Quit fooling around and finish your dinner, blockhead. It was Kanta's voice. Satsuki heard laughter. The radio was playing. Dishes rattled. Quiet down in there, Kanta's mother yelled through the doors. Satsuki held out the umbrella. I borrowed this from Kanta today. Thank you very much. I hope you'll excuse the noise, Kanta's mother said. I've got 4 men in the house, and it's always like this. It's all right. We're just stopping by. We got caught in the rain on the way back from school. Kanta lent us his umbrella. He must have gotten soaked. She gave Kanta's mother the umbrella. Oh, no, she said, looking at the umbrella. Is that what Kanta's been taking to school? It's broken. I'm sorry you had to use this. No, it really helped. I had May with me. I'm glad he let us use it. Kanta! His mother yelled again. Satsuki's here! Satsuki heard running and roughhousing beyond the doors. Kanta! Mom wants you! Shota yelled. Satsuki grabbed May's hand. I'm sorry. We've got to go. My father's on the 5:15 bus. We're meeting up at the bus stop. He needs his umbrella. Give me 5 seconds. Kanta's mother went inside and returned with a handful of sugar candies wrapped in paper. She presented the candy to May. Thank you, Mrs. Ogaki. See you again, Satsuki said. The house was so busy that she felt almost relieved to be going. Satsuki and May sucked on the candies as they walked in silence to the bus stop. Their own house was isolated, but as they got closer to the bus stop at the edge of the village, the houses were closer together. Light shone faintly from farmhouse windows.
Granny wasn't home, they said. Maybe she was feeding Matza.
Matsu-san was the Ogaki's cow.
I helped her feed Matsan.
Mei said. That must have been fun.
There were lots of flies.
Shinmei Inari Shrine, dedicated to the fox god Inari, was just behind the bus stop in a grove of Zelkova trees. By the time the girls turned the corner to the bus stop, the candy was gone, but they could hardly hear the bus approaching. Headlights shone out of the deepening gloom. Wipers swept back and forth across the big windshield. The brakes squealed on the hard-packed dirt road as the bus stopped in front of the pole that marked the stop. The round side of the pole said Inari Shrine. As soon as the bus stopped, the door opened. A man and a woman got off, and that was all. Tatsuo wasn't on the bus. Are you getting on? The lady conductor leaned out the door. Satsuki shook her head. All right, the conductor said to the driver. The door closed and the bus started up again.
Where is Daddy?
Mei said. Satsuki stared tight-lipped at the bus as he drove away. The people inside looked snug and dry. What to do? He must have missed the bus, Mei. The next bus would not be along for 40 minutes.
Isn't Daddy coming home?
Mei said. Of course he is. Don't talk nonsense. Satsuki wished Mei had stayed home. Then it would have been easy to run home, wait, and come back. Oh, excuse me. I guess we're stuck again, Mei. Then to humor her sister, Satsuki added, marooned at the ends of the earth. Maybe they should go home. Satsuki assumed that Tetsuo would carry Mei back on his shoulders. Making her walk home didn't seem like such a good idea. She already had enough walking for one day. What do you want to do, Mei? Do you want to stay here?
Uh-huh.
Mei was walking aimlessly around the bus stop. She stood in a puddle to see how deep it was. Exploring. She didn't seem interested in leaving. Would you rather go home?
Nope.
The next bus won't be here for a while. Are you sure?
I'm okay.
Mei peeked down the short flagstone path leading to the shrine. A faded red flag with the characters Inari the Great hung next to the little shrine, which wasn't much taller than Satsuki. Mei toddled up to it.
It's full of foxes,
she called. Curious, Satsuki came to see for herself. She peered into the dimness and saw dozens of white ceramic fox figurines of different sizes. Some had red open mouths. It looks spooky, Satsuki said. Mei played at ducking between the trunks of the huge Zelkova trees that surrounded the shrine. The stately grove was a riot of lush, early summer foliage, framed by the deep green. Oh, sorry. Somebody must be talking about me. Framed by the deep green of new leaves, the dilapidated little shrine with its torn, sun-bleached flag, and even the solitary bus stop with its round sign and flaking paint, seemed cheerful and full of life. Satsuki walked back to the pole. Its base was a block of concrete. All right, we're gonna wait, she called to Mei. She hung Tetsuo's umbrella on the little metal plate that was attached to the pole, with the bus schedule behind a cracked sheet of plastic. Then she ducked beneath the branches of a tall Zelkova to get some shelter from the rain. Yes, it was better to wait. It was too late to go home now. Satsuki's thoughts wandered as she gazed down the road. In the Teneshima house, in the 8-mat room on the second floor that served as Yasuko's sick room, she could be with her mother whenever she wanted. Satsuki could see the big can of white powder and the transparent leaves of starch paper that her mother would wrap the medicine in to make it easier to swallow. She remembered how Yasuko would walk quietly and quickly sometimes past the chest of drawers in the 6-mat room on her way to the platform outside where they always hung the laundry. The closets. Satsuki loved to jump down into the tatami from the middle shelf of a closet. Yasuko would fold her arms, nod, and say, "Splendid! You're such a big girl now." Aunt Kyoko would yell up the stairs, "Stop making such a racket!" Then they were in trouble. What did Mother always say? "I'm sorry, Kyoko. It was an accident." And she and Satsuki would cover their mouths and giggle for the longest time. Mei hadn't been born yet, and Satsuki was still very small. Their new house was close to the hospital, but Mother had never lived there with them. Without Tetsuo around, the house felt big and empty. Satsuki walked to the bus stop. She took a loop of string from her pocket and started playing cat's cradle. Mei amused herself with the puddles along the road, kicking up splashes with the toe of her galoshes. She was being just as patient as her sister. Still, it seemed the more they waited, the more slowly time passed. The rain never let up. A solitary street lamp switched on. Its yellow bulb cast a faint pool of warm light next to the bus stop. Night had come. Someone rode past on a bicycle. They saw the headlamp before they could see the bike squeaking and creaking up the road. Mei clutched Satsuki's skirt and watched warily as the hooded rider paddled by. dripping in the rain. Standing there with the darkness around her, Satsuki felt a little like a ghost. She imagined what it would be like to follow the man on the bicycle the way a ghost would. She held her hands by her sides like a corpse and stared balefully after the bicyclist. But she stopped right away. It was too silly. The minutes dragged. The water dripping from the branches sounded like clocks ticking. Satsuki looked up at the round sign. Azuma Railroad Bus Line from Miyazawa, Foxgrove. How many times has she read the sign? When? When was the bus coming?
Where's the bus?
May said. It's not here yet, Satsuki said. The night was inky beyond the glow of the street lamp. They should have gone home with somebody from the bus. The man had turned the corner toward Satsuki's house. There was a shortcut through the grove to the village, but it was so dark now that Satsuki couldn't even see it. They really were marooned in a soft pool of yellow light. The girl stood silently, waiting. We never should have come, Satsuki thought. We'd be home right now playing on the futons. May kicked a puddle, staggered, and almost fell in the water. For the first time, Satsuki noticed how sleepy May was. Her eyelids drooped. She dragged them open and then shut again. Her eyes were staying shut longer and longer. She was falling asleep on her feet. May? Satsuki grabbed her hand and shook it. May didn't answer. You can't sleep here. Something had to be done right away. Do you want to walk to Granny's? Say something, May. May hung her head sleepily and didn't answer. It's not far, Satsuki said. Why couldn't the bus just come? Satsuki squinted down the road until her eyes hurt. All right, sleepyhead, Satsuki sighed. Come on. She squatted down with her back to May. Hop on. May would be safer on her back. Otherwise, she would probably fall flat into a puddle. May was practically asleep. She staggered toward Satsuki and put her arms around her sister's neck. Satsuki put her arms under May's legs and hoisted her onto her back. The umbrella slipped to one side. Big drops of water fell on their faces and necks. Little May was so exhausted that she didn't notice. Satsuki could tell by her breathing that she was already sound asleep. Satsuki leaned forward and stared at the puddle beneath her rubber boots. She had to stay in that position or May would slide off. She balanced the handle of the umbrella on her shoulder. Tetsuo was right. May was getting heavy. Satsuki tried to keep her mind on the thought that the bus would be here soon. Drip, drip, drip. The rain kept falling, and the really big drops were coming from the branches above. The leaves rustled and sighed in the rain, like a giant breathing softly. Now and then a bicycle would pass, tires hissing through the puddles. Satsuki always hoped it might be the bus, but it never came. And then the road would be empty again. There was no sound. Excuse me, except the rain and the murmuring leaves. A gust of wind came through the grove and struck Satsuki from behind. It was a big puff of air, warm and dry. She stood bent over like a statue, balancing May on her back and the umbrella over her shoulder. The darkness behind her seemed to writhe and squirm as if something were passing through the trees. But it wasn't the wind. Then she heard a sound. Footsteps. Sodden leaves squished as heavy feet pressed against the earth. Shuffling steps crossed the stone path and splashed in the puddles. Slowly, slowly, the steps came toward them. Satsuki listened hard. Behind the footsteps she could hear something dragging through the leaves. A breath of air nudged her umbrella. The steps came beside her and stopped. Someone was standing next to her. There was a scent in the air like nothing Satsuki had ever smelled before. Like dried grass, but sharper and heavier. She smelled straw and mug rot, lizard tail and mint, clover and daisies, all mixed up in a mysterious pungent scent that cut through the smells of the rain and the mud and the trees. The stranger just stood there. He didn't make a sound. Satsuki wanted to see who it was, but with May on her back and the umbrella balanced on her shoulder, she couldn't look up. All she could see was the ground next to her feet. And there he is. She saw two huge legs. They were not human. Her heart started pounding. 5 long, curved claws gripped the ground, half hidden by downy gray-violet fur. The legs were stout and short, and a paunch reached between the legs all the way to the ground. There was a long, thick tail. Satsuki was terrified. She cowered under the umbrella. What was it? Maybe it would pounce on her if she moved. The thought made her scalp crawl. Moments ago, she'd been ready to cry because May was so heavy. Now she was so surprised she almost forgot May was there. She waited. Nothing happened. Very, very slowly, she lifted the edge of the umbrella. Next to her was an arm. It was heavy and broad like the wing of a giant owl, and it ended in another set of long, curved claws. The creature was scratching itself lazily. The rain splashed and bounced off its gray fur. As Satsuki gasped with surprise, she straightened up. May started to slip. Satsuki quickly heaved her back into place, but as she did, the umbrella fell to the ground. That was when she saw the creature clearly for the first time. She was so alarmed that she practically dropped her sister. She stood May roughly on her feet and shielded her with her arms. Then she grabbed the umbrella and hid them both beneath it. May rested her head against her sister's leg. She was asleep standing up. The creature was huge. Long, serrated ears stood straight up from the top of its head like thistles. They looked so impressive, so alert and sensitive that Satsuki was sure the creature could hear the slightest sound with those ears, maybe even think with them. A big lotus leaf covered the creature's head between its ears like a rain hat. Big drops of water fell on the leaf with a popping sound and rolled off onto the creature's nose, which reminded Satsuki of a raccoon's. With each drop that fell on its nose, the creature twitched its long, stiff whiskers. A creature like a raccoon, a rabbit, an owl, a cat? Except for the lotus leaf on its head, the creature stood unprotected and seemingly oblivious to the rain. It gazed fixedly ahead, eyes wide open. It wasn't acting dangerous.
Maybe we'll be okay, thought Satsuki. Wait, is this Totoro? Is this what May saw? But what should I do? If I move or say something, what happens then? What if this is the ruler of the forest like Granny said? Maybe it'll just go away. Or maybe it's an evil spirit. What if it comes after us with those claws?
Satsuki didn't want the creature to go, and she didn't want it to pounce on her either, but there was something she had to ask it, something she had to know. She held May tightly, slowly tipped the umbrella back and looked up.
Are you Totoro?
Almost imperceptibly, the creature cocked its head as if to say, "Hmm?" Its ears swiveled in Satsuki's direction so she knew it could hear her, though she barely spoke above a whisper. Its gaze wandered slowly over and down onto her, and then with the faintest of smiles it answered softly. Its voice was deep but musical, like a reed flute played by the wind. The sound rose into the night and was lost in the rustling of the zelkova leaves. Was it some kind of call? It might have been the groan a gigantic tree trunk makes in the wind.
You're Totoro,
Satsuki declared. This had to be Totoro. He had looked at her and said yes, this huge, bushy, gray hodgepodge of raccoon, owl, and bear.
It is you! You're really Totoro! I did it!
Satsuki was overjoyed.
I finally met Totoro!
The rain bent the leaves. The leaves gathered the rain and poured it down on Totoro. The droplets sparkled in the light from the lamp as they flowed over his downy fur. Rain from the sky sluiced over his huge body in little waves. Satsuki took Tetsuo's black umbrella from where she hung it on the side. She popped it open and held it out for Totoro.
Here!
Totoro's eyes widened with surprise. His ears twitched. He gazed in puzzlement at the umbrella.
It's for the rain. Take it!
Totoro looked completely bewildered. Finally, it took the handle of the umbrella gently between two long claws like tweezers. Satsuki held her umbrella high over her head.
Hold it like this. That way you won't get wet.
Totoro turned the umbrella this way and that, perplexed. He looked at Satsuki and then back at the umbrella. Something is happening, Satsuki thought. Some mysterious intuition told her not to say more, but just to listen. Suddenly, Totoro whisked the umbrella up over his head and held it there. He gazed straight up again. The umbrella was just big enough to keep his huge head out of the rain. The rain kept falling, falling, falling. The sound of rain was everywhere. It plopped in the mud and splashed in the puddles, slithered down the branches, and twinkled from the leaf tips, a symphony of tiny notes playing and fading away endlessly. How many sounds were there in the world? The flutter of wings as birds moved restlessly in sleep, the piping of insects, even through the pouring rain. Sound came in waves, hundreds and thousands of waves, a tide breaking softly around Totoro, Satsuki, and May. Sound rose from the rain-soaked earth and poured from the branches shaken by the wind. Even the wordless, deepening darkness spoke to them. Hear, hear, hear. The heavens were an ocean of sound, rising and fading away, sounds without sound. Here, we are here, here.
The bus!
May was wide awake. She tugged Satsuki's hand and pointed. A pair of headlights raced toward them. Satsuki gasped. The bus was moving so fast it made a sound like the wind moaning. 2 bright headlights. Not a bus. A cat. It was a colossal cat. Its eyes, headlights, it hustled toward them, digging its legs into the ground, and came to a stop just beyond Totoro. It dug its 12 legs into the road. It was a cat bus. It backed up like a giant centipede and turned its eye-beams toward Totoro. The roll sign read, "For Sukamori." Satsuki and May peered at the furry-striped bus in astonishment. Through the windows they could see passengers. Little nature spirits sitting in the bus here and there just like people. One of the windows widened into a door. Totoro climbed in and the cat bus sped away, leaving Satsuki and May gaping with amazement. For a few moments they could see its yellow-green headlights flashing at odd angles, right, left, and toward the sky as it raced down the road and up and over the distant hills, until finally it was out of sight. They were alone. Nothing moved in the night.
Totoro took Daddy's umbrella, Satsuki said, still gaping.
Far down the road, another bus was coming toward them. A real bus. It stopped in front of the girls with a squeak of brakes. The first person down the steps was Tatsuo. Satsuki and May stared, not quite sure if he was real. His white cap glowed softly under a street lamp. "Well, this is a surprise," Tatsuo said. Satsuki and May hugged his legs.
"We saw a cat bus, Daddy!"
May shouted.
"It was scary,"
Satsuki said.
"The cat bus, Daddy! The cat bus took Totoro! Daddy, a great big cat! But it was a bus! Daddy! Daddy!"
May couldn't contain her excitement. Still holding his briefcase, Tatsuo squatted and gave both girls a big hug. "I'm sorry I'm late. You must have been really worried." He looked at them impishly. "You know, I think I just squashed the croquettes in my briefcase. Shall we run home right away now and find out?" And that is where we will end for tonight. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you enjoy my readings, please go over to the YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe. I don't do this for profit, y'all. I do it to entertain and to get people invigorated about the magic of literature. I'll see y'all later.